Hello, everybody. We are here today with Gambler, a recovering pornography addict who has come on to talk about his experiences since the industry has picked up. Uh, oh, wait, gambling addict. Ha ha ha
Yeah,
ha ha. You don't watch porn, right?
not that I'll talk about on your stream.
Oh, yeah, I just figured you were Christian,
Uh, I,
and
I mean,
Christians don't watch porn.
I mm, I think you might need to do a reality check if you think that's the case. But
Oh, okay. Anywho. Jokes aside, Gambler is a long time friend on the Warcraft 3 shenanigans, and he's way too into World of Warcraft. Do you want to talk about porn or World of Warcraft first?
well,
Porn
seeing
being
as I know
gambling, of course.
uh, of the two, I probably know more about World of Warcraft, but
Oh.
so we can talk about that. But we can talk about the gambling too if that's more interesting. Whichever one you want to start with, it is your show.
Well, seeing as how we have Bolvar as your
Okay.
picture, that's Bolvar, right?
Yeah, that is Bolvar, as he was getting assaulted by Sylvanas in
Yeah.
the opening of Shadowlands.
So is Sylvanas hot?
Uh, yeah, I mean you've seen it. She's pretty hot, but then she kind of breaks reality, and that's the whole reason we're getting this new expansion to begin with. Kind of little Deus Ex Machina kind of escape from everyone after you've caused a bunch of issues.
Cool. We've confirmed it here. What do you think? What are you most excited about? So Shadowlands has been delayed a couple times. How has that impacted your life? What were you most excited about for Shadowlands, etc.?
All right, so I'll give you a little bit background. I do mythic rating quite a bit on WoW. My guild, last time I checked, here I'll go pull it up real quick. The last tier, which is the like raid tiers, we were 141st in the US. So we're pretty good, but we're not like super top tier. But we're pretty good. We raid about 11 hours each week. Um, so we're all pretty excited for Shadowlands, and part of us being ranked decently high is we get access to the beta. So I've gotten to test out a lot of the features of Shadowlands and already level through it and kind of experience some of the weird stuff that happens in it. Now, as far as what to look forward to the most, there's this new feature, and it's called Torghast. And everyone, I don't know how about everyone else feels, but sometimes it's not fun to play with a team of idiots, and they're the only reason that you can't do good. And so Blizzard
Do
took
well.
that, yeah. So they took this idea and they go, well, what if you had something you could do by yourself optionally, or you could take people with you? And so Torghast is, are you familiar with what a roguelike game is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically Torghast is that. It's something that's going to be randomly generated. There's floors that you go clear, and they have different enemies. There's different buffs to find in there, and it's infinitely repeatable. And the whole reason to do it is a big feature of Shadowlands is you'll be able to craft legendaries. The legendaries are very impactful for some and not so impactful for others, but one of the key components to make your legendaries is from this Torghast thing. So what I'm excited about is I don't have to have my team on in order to do it. I don't need to have any friends on in order to do it. I can go if I have downtime that I'm home from work and no one else is on, which isn't going to be the case for a little bit, but it will be later on. I can go do it by myself and still not suffer negatively. Like I can't go raid by myself. I can't even go do a dungeon by myself, but I can go do this by myself. So it's a cool little extra feature that I think a lot of people end up liking once they into the feel of it.
That sounds yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the quote unquote downsides of World of Warcraft is you need friends. in order to do the dungeons and stuff. And even if you don't have friends, you still need online friends. So now you can just be a complete social outcast.
For the sake of the legendaries, because they made this where you can solo it, if you're able to make your own legendary, which all that requires is whatever profession that you need, which there's a ton of those, and it's pretty easy, all things considered. Because you can do the solo, that would mean that you could make your legendary by yourself with zero help from anyone else, and there'd be no, hey, I have to go find someone that can do this part of it. I I can go farm all the materials myself, so I can go get it. I believe the only downside is some of the patterns to make certain legendaries will only drop from some of those places that you do need those friends, that you need to go do raids, you need to go do dungeons. But getting a one or two time thing to get the pattern shouldn't be a bigger issue in the long scheme of things, because pugging, which is basically public matchmaking for doing raids and stuff, it's fairly simple once you get into it.
Do you play on the Alliance or the Horde?
See, a very, very long time ago, I was in a little alliance because that was I was young. I started playing WoW back when it came out. So I and that was back when I was 14. But I did nothing well. I didn't play the end game at all. I didn't do anything besides run around and kill. d- Like it's like I was on the episode of South Park. I was going around killing boars and killing the equivalent and just running around doing my own thing. Um, and I was Alliance then, but when I came back, probably 8, I'll probably say 7 years ago, I rolled Horde because WoW has an inherent Horde bias. And the reason for that is each race in WoW has racial abilities. All of these racial abilities have different effects on your gameplay. Some are purely cosmetic, and some are you actually can use them in combat. For the longest time, Horde has dominated in that sense. That it doesn't even come close in comparison between the two. And so I joined Horde because, on average, had an easier time finding people to play with if you're Horde, because more people play Horde because they had the better racials.
Do you play Blood Elf?
I do not. I believe
Bad decision.
my current hunter is Troll, but I'm high enough that what I'll probably end up doing is when the expansion comes around and all the final numbers kind of start to set in, I'm just going to race change to what's going to give me the best numbers at the end of the day. So,
Do you think that it's kind of discriminatory that you can't choose the best race to erotically roleplay as and have the best parse times from your racials?
now there was a time I could be a blood elf. And I'll tell you, the RP servers on WoW are complete cesspools, particularly Moonguard. If anyone plays on Moonguard,
That's where I
you
play.
you know what's going on. It's a cesspool. It's just how it is. And yes, Blood Elves would probably be the quote unquote best race for people to roleplay as because it's the most aesthetically pleasing. But there's also now Nightborn, which are pretty cool in my opinion. But
Basically, not taller night elves.
taller Night Elves with darker skin. That's how it goes.
What do you think about the
They
new cosmetic changes?
doesn't affect me a whole lot. I am usually someone that doesn't play with any of like the actual cosmetics showing. I usually have a full set of armor and all that from whatever transmog I've gotten in the past, and it usually covers up any of those. I think the new character creation though, and like the ability of that customization is really cool. I love the effort of it, and it's another fun little meme of the WoW community that the art team completely carries WoW currently, because God knows the story isn't carrying.
How did you get so good at doing raids and stuff? Like when did it become a passion? Become rank number 114th?
So
Was it your
back,
guild or
so the history on that is my cousin at the time used to raid, and I mean I kind of saw what he was doing, but whatever. This is back when I was young enough that they live out of my grandparents, and I'd see him every now and then. And I was like, you know what? I kind of want to do that, so I'm going to find a way to do that. And back in Mista Pandaria, which it's been a little while ago, I found a small little guild that raided way late at night. We're talking like 11 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. my time. That's when I raided back then. And I basically just started to do what is essentially practice. I started to do runs with them and learn how raids work, learn how being in a raid works, how you prepare for a raid, how you have to kind of focus when you're doing it because Blizzard has this nasty habit of if you're in a raid, especially nowadays, it's gotten much worse as the years go on, but you have 20 people in a raid currently in a mythic raid, and it only takes one person not doing what they're supposed to for however long the fight is in order to kill the other 19 people along with that person. And so as I started to get better at it, there I'm sure you're familiar with this because you played WoW. Trade chat, right? It's right now it's a complete people trying to sell stuff. I'm sure you've seen all that. Where
yeah, yeah.
they're trying to sell runs, they're trying to do that. Well, back in Mist, that wasn't so much the case, even though there was some. But back then, people actually recruited for guilds, and they recruited new people. And I joined this guild called SEH on Bleeding Hollow, and we even used to have a cool, fancy website, but we don't have it anymore. And I it's almost like a job interview, dude. Like you literally like we had a form that you filled out and you like basically were essentially putting your resume for the guild to look at that you're trying to get into. That and this is very standard for every single top guild. Like if you want to go anywhere, you kind of do this kind of thing. And I put in the application, so to speak, and I got into the one that I'm in now. And honestly, I've been here for the rest of the time since I joined halfway through MOP, and we have gotten progressively better every year I've been here. We've refined people. We've had people that have been here a really long time that are really, really good, and we get new people that are really good. And it just hopefully well, the goal is to just be higher rank on our server. Right now we're rank 5 on our server. I'd like to see that be like top 3 at the very least by the end of this next expansion, but we'll see.
Have you fallen in love with anybody in your guild?
Fallen in love with anyone of my guild.
I mean, you've been there for so long, right? Like years and years.
So
Any love stories?
here's the part where I'm really sad, right? We've only in the entire length that I've been in this guild, there's been 3 female members.
Sexist. Sexist
And
guild, bro.
it's not even sexist, it's just uh, the finding females that play WoW to that level.
You got to go on the
It's
RP service for sure.
it's not a I wouldn't say it's a stretch because I'm very certain that there's plenty of girls that are very good enough at World of Warcraft that they could join like my guild or any other guild on my server. It's that um, the gaming community as a whole, especially in WoW, is I'm sure you've seen it. Have you heard about the drama that happened with Method and all that kind of
Oh,
stuff?
I think so. If you can
Um,
briefly mention it, I think I remember that.
so without going into too many details, Method basically had a lot of very blatantly sexist
Yeah,
things
I
that went
remember
on,
that.
and one of their members actually was borderline a pedophile, if not straight out a pedophile.
Yeah, I remember.
and
Yeah.
a lot of things happen with that. And unfortunately, even though that's the top guild, it's something that I feel affected a lot of people that like women that wanted to raid. So I mean, it's a shame, but a lot of it's not uncommon for females to not want to raid because of stuff like that happening to them. I'm currently an officer of our guild right now, and I've had people that have told me, "Hey, like I'd love to join your guild, or or this would happen, but I can't do this again. Like if this happens, I'm just leaving." That kind of style. But as far as me actually falling in love with anyone in my guild, to get back to the question, I have one person that I raid with right now that is a dude, and I wouldn't say it's a romantic love, but I mean, I've met the guy in person. He's really cool to hang out with. Just it you meet some really cool people. It's like when I joined Warcraft 3 and started to get back into Warcraft in the or War in the Plaguelands, and I met you and your stream and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes you just meet really cool people on the internet,
Oh, dude, I'm
and
blushing.
and sometimes that it makes it where I've always heard this because a lot of my life has been online. A lot of my relationships with people are online because I don't particularly enjoy doing a lot of stuff outside of work, and they you just meet cool people that are very much end up being really good friends. And a lot of people that don't play games and don't do that kind of thing and don't make those relationships, it's like missing out on meeting people when you're growing up going to school, right? Like you're missing out on just good people to surround yourself with. But this guy from my guild, I mean, I we've been through where he's been buying a house and the entire guild helped him out on trying to get stuff figured out as he was figuring out how to buy his first house. Like that kind of stuff is just interesting to see happen. Discord has helped a lot since Discord's become popular. It has a lot of cool features that you can do and makes chatting a lot easier than having some huge group text like we used to have.
So you talked about taking. I mean, you said something along the lines of treating WoW like a job. When Shadow, you told me. I mean, you've been saying this for a while, but I just want to
Yeah,
bring it up because it's fun, or maybe you have something to you can elaborate on it. When WoW drops, you're like you're reserving months, right? Something like that. Like you're
yeah.
taking
So
weeks of.
I'll kind of go back to start off this. I'll kind of go back earlier. What you're like, how did the release being delayed affect me? And we'll start there. So initially, when this expansion was supposed to come out was back on the 26th of October, so about 3 weeks ago. My time off at work that I had planned for that specific timing was I was off that entire first week from the 26th to the 31st. I was off from the 2nd to the 4th of the next week, and then I was off the 10th and the 11th of the week following. I had a lot of time off that at the end of the year, it's time to use it kind of deal. And it's my vacation to play this game. I very much enjoy it. A lot of times, a lot of the people I play with don't work in a normal sense. They either work from home or they don't have a job to begin with, and we all can basically sync up times to no life it. Now, to go back to what we're talking about as far as time wise and what I kind of meant by that comment was the current release date is the 23rd, which is next Monday. Mine, unfortunately, because the time shifted and I work at a bank and we're really busy, I can't get all the time off that I would want now. But I have the 24th and the 25th and the 26th off. The 26th is because it's a holiday, banks are closed. I got off the 24th and the 25th. The current plan is I'm going to go to work on Monday on the 23rd, get off. The game will release at 6 p.m. or my time, and I will not sleep until sometime probably Wednesday morning from Monday.
Was that like about 2 days?
That would be pretty much 2 days awake at that
Did
point.
you already buy your case of Red Bull?
So I actually don't drink energy drinks. I just drink a unhealthy amount of like Coke or Dr. Pepper or whatever the case, whatever I have at the time.
Coke has a lot of caffeine.
Yeah. And so normally, usually when I'm staying up that late, I'll just have stuff that I'll have planned is I'll have Coke or Dr. Pepper, whatever I have on hand, and then I'll have a couple of like microwave meals and stuff that I can just go and small downtime go do. And the reason I'm doing this, and the reason it sounds really obscene, but it's almost necessary, is WoW has this huge Blizzard as a whole has a huge fascination in WoW of rewarding people who play more. And I don't mean like, oh, you play more in a week. I mean just straight up game time. Like you playing 8 hours a day is 3 times as better as someone that only played 4 hours because you get that much more stuff that you can do. It does slow down past the first couple weeks, but during the first couple weeks, this is when it's really true and it really affects the first raid that comes out which will come out 2 weeks after the release, which will be out, I believe, the 8th of December. It's either the 8th or the 15th. I can't remember if they delayed it, but so the reason I play so much and the reason a lot of my guildmates will play so much is you just get rewarded for playing the game. And a lot of times there's some kind of infinite grind currency, which anyone that's played any video games nowadays, whether it's a gotcha game on your mobile device or WoW itself or most any other game, there's always some kind of resource that you just get for playing the game. And that's what we're aiming to get as much of as we can by the time the raid opens.
Do you think like you're not married, right?
I am not married.
Do you think this whole WoW commitment could inhibit your ability to find the right woman?
Um, I'd say no, just because based on the evidence that I have quite a few of my guildmates that are married or in very committed relationships, and they you just have to find a partner that agrees with it. Now, there's some people that maybe I'd be personally attracted to that are off limits because they really wouldn't understand taking no life to video games.
Mm-mm.
Absolutely.
Real.
But but part of finding someone is finding someone that at least would support my hobbies, which most of my hobbies revolve around my computer, whether it's doing stuff on Twitch or like just watching it because I find myself watching Twitch way too much. I feel like nowadays.
Good,
And
good.
then and then
Watch my stream.
uh, and then playing video games or whatever the case is. So I would say yes, it would limit it, but on the same token, like it doesn't limit it in a negative way. It just makes it a little harder initially. But
Okay, so Gambler got me into Divinity a little bit. We've been playing Divinity Original Sin 2 on stream. I put some of the videos on YouTube. Plan to put more. Like you have this whole like what is it angle from there's like this what is that genre called, like not Dungeons and Dragons.
tactical RPGs,
Yeah, you have this whole
turn based,
once you get
turn
into
based RPGs.
turn-based RPGs,
So
like
that
you play
is
D&D, Baldur's, you play a couple
Baldur's Gate.
games pretty seriously,
So
right?
I'll tell you a funny joke that I heard from one of my guild mates, and the reason this came about was, are you familiar with Path of Exile?
Yeah,
You know what it is?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So that game in itself, you tell anyone about Path of Exile, they instantly just label you like some like spreadsheet loving nerd because like in order to make a good build in that game, you have to basically look at spreadsheets and do a bunch of planning and stuff. And my guildmate made fun of me at the time because I was excited for a new release of Path of Exile. He goes, Gambler, I don't think you play any game casually. And it kind of resonated, but because a lot of times I like to learn what makes you good at a game, and I like to learn what would make me good at a game. And so I put in a lot of effort in a new game to do so. Yeah, but as far as tactical RPGs go, that actually was the classic game that I played growing up. Are you familiar with Final Fantasy Tactics by chance?
Holy fuck, I love that game.
Yeah, yeah. So when I was little, I had a little PlayStation 1, and that game was my shit. I would play that all the time and do all sorts of dumb stuff on it, and that's where I fell in love with like the whole turn-based thing. And I've honestly kept playing those games because it's just fun. I love setting up, and this is something that you've seen in our Divinity, and if any of you is watching can attest to by watching YouTube. I love setting up a combo. I love setting up a I just win no matter what situation. And whether it's this turn or the next turn, I'm going to hit you with like five things at the same time. That's the fun of those type of games. Final Fantasy Tactics used to do that with casting a bunch of spells and they all go off at the exact same time. And D&D is almost similar where I can manipulate my own character, everyone does their own stuff, everything can line up that way. And D&D is actually a new one to me. I only started playing D&D just this year, so it's
Oh, really?
I'm still learning a whole lot about it, but I've only been playing it for about a year, year and a half at most. So
Yeah, I know that quite a few people, especially since coronavirus, have been doing a lot more D&D sessions. It was never something I could get into, but it always seemed cool.
it's it's very much a theater of mind kind of
Yeah.
deal. And I read a lot of books growing up, and I did a lot of. I mean, that was how I experience books when I read them. It's very easy for me to visualize stuff, so D&D is a natural transition with that as well.
Yeah, dude, I love Final Fantasy Tactics Advance or Tactics.
That
I had the one for Game Boy. I used to sit in like car
uh,
rides and like play that shit fucking like
yeah, the one with I believe is Marsh was the main character, and you're like,
I don't even remember.
all I, the most of what I remember of that game is I played that stupid starter. The very first combat of the game is like this stupid snowball fight where everyone does
Yes.
one, where
Oh
everyone does
my
one.
god.
You do like one or two damage, and it's just like purely scripted fight, and you just take forever to finish it. And every other combat in the game doesn't take that long because that thing just took forever.
No, the snowball fight is so weird.
Yeah, but I that game was really fun. It had a lot of little small stuff to do that you could the clan wars, other stuff that I try struggling to remember about the game, but I had that one. I had that one. There was a second one that I never played that was like A2 or something. That one
Yeah, yeah.
I never got a hold of that one, but I played the original one. I played that one a lot. And the original one, funny enough, when I was looking in as everyone is, it feels like, especially on Twitch, sometimes you just get in a stump where you don't have a game to play. I went to go look up like if someone had modded Final Fantasy and someone made a difficulty mod for Final Fantasy where they remade a bunch of spells, they remade a bunch of mechanics of the game and all that, and they made the entire game scale to you.
Hmm.
And it was a mod, and so you could go play it. And the difficulty of it is I don't know if you remember, but when you played Final Fantasy 1, you could go grind the wild encounters or whatever forever, and then go to a story mission, and they were the same level no matter what. But with this mod, the story one's leveled with you, and so if you tried to do the infinite grind before you went, it just hurt you in the end because you were down the items that you could normally buy because it wasn't unlocked by the story yet. But your enemies have those items, so you could technically steal them, but it was pretty hard. But
Yeah.
it was a cool little rebalance of the game, and they took some other spells and they made them a little less instant win kind of deal.
Yeah, it's crazy how communities can carry games like that. Do it better than the actual game.
Uh, Warcraft 3 is the best example of that in my entire life.
For sure. I mean, even
Like,
WoW private servers. There's
yeah,
most games. There's something.
what Warcraft 3 and the custom games are where m- honestly where my passion for playing games came from. I used to play so much of regular Dota, of any type of pretty much any type of game you can think of the custom games that weren't like Run Kitty Run or any of those like really like one-off ones. I used to play enough that I wouldn't say I was good at them, but I was decent at them to go play. And if I wanted to go play that style of map, I could. And that was the great thing about it was all of them were always being hosted all the time, and you could just play whatever you wanted to.
Yeah, for sure. I got really into 4v4s. That's where I spent most of my time. I don't know. Something about 4v4s, it was like not competitive enough to be stressful, but even just the base, like, roster of heroes and units
Hmm.
felt like it allowed for so much, like, divergent play.
Yeah, you could do different strategies with 4v4s that you could ever do in like a 1v1 or a 2v2. Like someone could purely want to go this type of like combat, like, hey, I'm only gonna build this, and that would work in a 4v4 because everyone else can like make up that difference that you're lacking by not doing the other stuff that you're able to do.
Yeah, so one time to get away from games just slightly. I mean, it's still a game. One time I asked you about gambling, about your name, Gambler, and whether or not you gamble. And I
Yeah.
forget the exact phrasing, but the funniest thing I remember you saying was like, "Oh, my whole family gambles. We go on trips together to the casino." And I
Oh
was like,
yeah.
"What?
So
Where did that all
so
start?"
um it started before I was born. My family's just done it. They love going to casinos. They love going to you name it. Like they've gone to casinos, they've gone to Vegas, they've gone to cruises that have gambling stuff on them. Although those are usually just like a byproduct of the cruise having it. But they just we all will every so often go on a trip, and the cool thing about it is when you go gambling, I know you probably don't go gambling much, but they give you free shit, like free rooms and stuff if you go gamble enough with them. And an example of this is I actually went on a trip 3 weeks ago because I had to still take the time off that I had put in before. And we went up to a casino by the name of WinStar Casino. If you go look it up, which you can do on stream or off stream, whatever, it is one of the biggest casinos in the world in terms of floor space. And my family loves going up there because you just have everything that you could think of in a casino. They have slot machines for literally like a mile and a half, it feels like, that you can go walk around and go play on. And a lot of them are similar, but a lot of them are different and they all do different things, pay out different, whatever the case is, have a different bet. Or you can go play cards or go play roulette or all the different styles of gambling. And we as a family spend enough that the entire time we were there, which was 3 nights, we didn't pay for our rooms any night. We didn't pay for our rooms. We only paid for like half our food, and that's pretty much all we paid for is in terms of those. Now, obviously, we spent money on the actual machines, but my like my name suggests, I'm probably pretty good at gambling, and I'm pretty lucky, and I came back with more money than I left with
Is
this
it is
last
it
time.
luck?
Some of it is luck. If you're playing on a slot machine, it's luck. Slot machine is like you click a button and it just you either win or lose. There's not in between, and sometimes you lose a lot. Some of those machines can be like $5 bets or whatever per little tick of rolling a bet, and that would a lot of times those $5 bets won't even make $5 back when you win. They'll only win like $2 or $3 back. Now if you go play cards and you go play blackjack and stuff, some of it is luck, but some of it is knowledge. Some of it is knowing, hey, I have this type of hand versus this type of hand by the dealer, and therefore it's in my best interest to bet or to bet more or whatever the case is. Or on the other side of the token is I've already lost this hand even if I try and make anything of it, so I can just fold. And a lot of that's knowledge and just learning how to play, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know what you think about this. I really don't like gambling because I think gambling is cool as like a fun hobby thing, but I also, as you do, take everything incredibly seriously, and I just find most aspects of gambling are just like you're already starting with the odds against you in most scenarios because there's no you go to a casino, the house takes a cut. You know, you play this, it's like rigged against you. That's the whole point. But
Yeah,
if there's anything that I think is an efficient way, like the most efficient baseline strategy is to just bet size. Like I'm really into like bet sizing. So if I were to go and be like, okay, I'm gonna go play this and that, I would like focus on locating a portion of the money that I have to like if I'm gonna play poker, I don't play with more than 5% of all I got or some shit like that.
yeah, yeah. So my family actually has like a small, almost unspoken rule that we do, which is first off, you never use ATM at these casinos
Oh yeah,
ever because they charge like $10 or something dumb to like use them. And two, and this is for my family's rule, and we pretty much all have followed this the entire time. Um, we only take, and it sounds really simple on paper, and it really is, but a lot of people can't do it when they go gambling, as evident of some of my friends that have come up to gamble with me. They don't take to a casino what you can't lose. And so what our family does is we don't do this as a group, but we all right before a gambling trip, you go get out exactly what you are willing to be okay with losing, basically. So last time I went, I brought $700. If I had lost the entire 700, I wouldn't have been short on rent. I wouldn't have not been able to eat. I wouldn't be able. I would be fine. And thankfully, I came back with it and a little more. But I've had friends that have brought $100 up to the casino to meet me, and that $100 is gone within 30 minutes, if not less.
yeah.
And some people just don't have that restraint to them.
I had this one friend in college. He got addicted to going to the casino, and he was like the fucking epitome of I'm gonna take out all of my money and go to the casino. Like he was just straight up all or nothing. Like he would
Oh,
like take out all of his money that he had spare, like for food, for everything, and then
yeah,
just go to the casino. And he would never come back with anything that was less. Like he would come back with nothing, or he would come back with like 1.5x or 2x.
yeah, yeah. So
But he would
some
far more often come back with nothing.
it's a lot easier to come back with nothing. You're talking about house cut, so I'll give them. Um, the whole house cut thing is, say you're going to play blackjack at Windstar, the one that I just went to. The Every hand that you play cost you 50 cents. Doesn't sound like a lot, right? But that adds up really quick. You play 10 hands, you with a minimum of $5 a bet, you're betting $5.50 every hand. Let's say you don't win any of them. You're now down $55 for 10 hands. and that's kind of the house cut kind of deal. And a lot of people see that and they don't count that money that's going towards that ante, the house cut, and they don't see it as like money that they're betting. And so they end up down more than they thought they were when they sat down with, like, say, their initial $100 or whatever they sat down with. Because my friend that came up on my last trip, he went to go play blackjack. I'm not even. He brought $100, and I think he played 15 hands, and his $100 was gone, just like that. And sometimes that's just how it is. That's how it be. That's how it works. And that's gambling. I've had multiple family members go home with nothing near what they brought with them, if any.
What is it like going on gambling trips with your family? That sounds very
So it's a lot of fun.
strange to me. Not that it is strange.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. So one, going with family is like a lot of my family members are very extroverted. They're very loud. They like to make a lot of noise and be very full of reactions and just be fun to be around. So taking them on a trip is like bringing your own entertainment with you to a casino, whether or not you're gonna win or lose. So, like, you bring these people with you on this trip, and you know that they're gonna react to you either winning or losing a bunch or whatever the case is. And when you go with people that you know, and this is something that, in my mind, is something that's really big for people to learn when they go to a casino, is if you go with multiple people, you don't have to be betting money all the time. One or like say you go with a group of four. One or two of y'all could be playing on a slot machine while the other two are there watching and just basically hanging out, having a good time and dealing, and then it kind of rotates around. The other two that weren't playing were start playing, and the other two that whether they win or they lost, they can get off and not have to constantly be betting money. And in my mind, that's what lets me and my family not lose as much when we go to a casino because that will happen a lot. Some of us will say you're not winning on a machine enough and you can take a break and just watch someone else play because the machines are cool to watch. I mean, these people that make the gambling halls know what they're doing. The machines are fun to play. They have cool stuff that you can do on them, like cool bonuses that can happen and have cool effects. They know how to get you to play more, and sometimes it can just be fun to wait and see someone that you know winning something off one of those.
Who is the like the worst? Who seems to lose the most out of your like the family that you go with? Like who seems to just be like losing far more than they should? And then who is the worst about losing? Who gets like the saltiest?
So the worst loser in terms of money is my uncle, for sure. He's one of the most fun to have around, but out of all the trips I've gone with him, he's lost. He never comes back with more money. I've never had him come go on a trip and come back with more.
Oh dear.
And yeah, and I feel bad for him, but it happens. And then the worst loser is by far my mother. She gets really visibly jealous if someone else is winning on a machine and she's just sitting there losing money and she's not getting a bonus or whatever the case is. And so she'll just like kind of pout almost and not want to talk to people until she starts winning.
Yeah.
And then my grandmother just wins all the time.
So that's
Like
the
my
unusual
grandmother
winner.
my grandmother just goes and she'll wander off and come back and she'll have a ticket for $300 and she only walked away with like $100.
My late grandmother, may she rest in peace. One time I forget what it's called. It's like this card game that's similar to blackjacks and it's like between blackjacks and poker. She got kind of like she basically got lucky in getting this like uh buy entry. Like she bypassed like a ton of like predecessing games to get to the finals, and she ended up
Uh-huh.
winning like $200,000.
Oh, wow.
I totally forget what the name. You must know because you fucking go to casinos.
I
It's like a
mean, they
card
all
game that's not poker, but it's like a little. There's still some complexity to it.
I'm trying to think, but I'm coming up short. Um, I mean, I know they do tournaments at these places all the time, so that's fully possible to do.
So that my grandmother too.
Yeah,
If I can find it.
it's pretty crazy to like the stories that you hear from casinos are crazy. Some people just win way too much money, and then there's the people that are tragic and have lost a lot of money to it.
I think there's far more of those people.
There's definitely far more of those people. There's a lot more issue with the people that go and like your friend from college, where he just lost, either went and lost everything or went and came back with more.
I think it's
So
Omaha poker. It's like I think it's a variant of poker. Oh well, but
it's possible.
funny story.
There's a lot of variations of different types of games. Um, the one There was a blackjack variant this last time I went, where you can bet an extra $5 a hand, and basically you're betting that extra $5 on a certain outcome happening. And one of those outcomes was if you got a 21, the auto win hand, they the house would pay you, I think it was 15 for betting that 5, but you had to get the 21. And it had like some other stuff that was like even more specific, where if you got a 21 and the dealer got this, then you win even more. And some people that while I was there, they bet that and they won $100 off a $5 roll. My personal best is I made a 50-cent bet on a machine, my second gambling trip ever, and I won almost $600 off of it.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
So the new type the most of the newer machines are what they call progressive machines, which what that means is every time the machine is played, which makes sense, the bonuses go up. So the bonuses are tiered, and there's a minor bonus. This is usually like 10, $15 per machine. Then there's a oh no, that's the mini, sorry. And then there's a minor bonus, and that one's usually $50. And those two pretty much are always a flat amount. They don't go up or down, but there's a major bonus, and that's the third tier. And what the major bonus is normally this will start around $500, and the longer a machine goes without winning that, that total goes up. And on the machine I was on, you could win any of those three off the 50-cent roll on the machine. And so I won the major bonus, which at the time was like $590.
Damn.
And that's what I won. And how they get you is there's one more tier, and it's called grand. Now, the grand on that particular machine was closer to, I think it was 12,000 at the time. But how the machine and how the gambling people get you is, in order to even be eligible to get that $12,000, you have to be playing $4 a roll.
I see.
And that money goes really quick at $4 a roll.
Gotcha. So then everyone's
Um,
like beefing
so
up
the
the
people
major or whatever.
Yeah, I've met these crazy old people that go bet their pensions every month, that I sat down next to them, and they've talked to me, and they're like, You won't win nothing doing a minimum bet. You have to do maximum bet every time." And these people are out there slamming $4 every 2 seconds into a machine until they win something.
That's
And
frightening.
sometimes they don't win, and they're out of money. And the alternative was I sat down next to someone that won one of those rolls before, and he won. And this is the weird part, right? 'Cause especially like to most normal people. He won $400 off his roll and didn't even blink before he pressed it to bet again. As like didn't even like pause to like look at it, be awestruck, anything. He just won $400 and then went back to hitting the button really quick because
Nice.
at $4 a roll, that's only 100 clicks of that thing of that machine, and he's just trying to get more and more and more, and it's ridiculous. But
Do you ever do like sports betting or anything? So my roommates are like kind of into sports betting. I'm actually pretty. I remember in pretty early, like February or something, or like April, I was like, Kamala Harris is gonna be the VP pick, and I should have fucking betted on it. And when she got announced for VP, I remember being like, "Fuck! I should have put money on that dude. It would have been like a 50 cents to like
yeah,
$100 bullshit."
yeah. No, I've never done that particular. I've done horse race betting before, and that's pretty fun. Where I mean, you go and they tell you the odds for each horse, and you bet it, and if the winner wins, then you whatever your odds were, multiply your money by it, kind of deal. But that's the only non-casino type one that I've personally done.
Not into sports betting.
Honestly, I there's so little sports that I follow close enough that I would even have the knowledge to bet on.
Yeah, I don't
Like
know. I'm not too into sports betting, or
it
just like betting on things that are. Yeah, I guess you got to know the game.
I mean, if I knew enough about sports that I could make like say a reasonable bet on some kind of long shot, then that's one thing. But to just go in there not knowing a single name, I mean, it's like playing a dartboard. Like I would have no idea where I would end up on it. So there'd be no point for me to do it.
Word, I ran out of. Let's see, what else can I ask you? Oh yeah, when did you? How did you? When did you start watching my stream? How did you find my stream? Actually, did you find my stream first or the game first? That's a better question. War in the
Did I
Plaguelands, I mean.
find? Oh, I found World of the Plaguelands first
Pog.
because I knew the game already back when it used to be a 12 before it was the 24 map. That was like popular for until it suddenly wasn't. Um, I used to play the 12 one quite a good amount back when I used to play Warcraft 3 customs for the longest time, and I when I came back because Reforged came out, I saw it being hosted, and then it was just one of those lobbies that you do your usual thing where you're like, here's my Twitch,"
Oh yeah, yeah.
and I, I mean, I was second monitor. I was like, you know what? Why not join in? It wasn't too big a stream that I felt like, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but it wasn't too big a stream where I felt like wasn't gonna be like just another number to it, you know? Where like I could be a part of the community, which was something I wanted to do because I really enjoyed War in the Plaguelands and I like those style of maps on Warcraft 3, like the whole like army versus army with kind of heroes mixed in with it.
That's my genre.
Um, and I don't know, it seemed to be something you played a lot, so following your stream was easy enough to do because hey, if you're gonna host them all the time, which you used to, don't anymore. Um,
Well,
they
people don't join anymore.
trust me, I know. I watched Lobby Simulator the other day when you were streaming. Uh, he, but if you're hosting him and I followed your stream, then all I'd have to do when I wanted to go play a couple months ago was you'd go online and I go, all right, I know a game's gonna be up, and so I could just use that as like my indicator of hey, I can go play the map that I want to go play.
The golden
Because
days.
yeah, pretty much when we used to have what was it, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays, pretty much full of like Koreans versus everyone.
Yeah, I miss Korea.
Dude, it was scary playing against some of those players sometimes.
Yeah, they were good.
Their their attention, like their ability to like split their attention was what made them insane.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you could be fighting their entire army and then you blink and your hero that was nowhere near that fight is getting killed by their heroes that just made it away from the fight and hunted you down. Like, you had to pay so
There's,
much attention playing against them.
I think there is some incredible depth to. I think there still is to the 24 player. It's just you need too many people to play it. So hopefully you can bring back a little bit of a more reasonable.
I My personal opinion on the 24 and what makes it hard for people to either get into or for it to be just have good games in general is so many of the matchups are very good, well balanced in my opinion, where like one side doesn't have like an insane advantage over the other, that it makes the difference of having a good player versus a bad player much more punishing, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah,
we've done the whole balance the lobby thing where like newer players against newer players, and that works a lot of the times. But you still run into the issue of eventually whoever wins out of those newer players has to go up against the old play, like the known players,
yeah,
and the known players are, especially some of the ones that were really popular, are ruthless
I know.
online.
Yeah,
Like, they I mean, you'd blink and they've chained 4 spells onto your weakest hero, and he's dead before you even have time to react with like a death coil or a holy light. Like, he's just
and
dead.
that's if you know the game, let alone
And
you're
and
just like.
yeah, and that's if you're quick enough to tab to the hero, the get the holy light off to begin with, because they sure aren't living with just the elite heal. They need the instant heal too. But some of the greatest moments of War in the Plaguelands to me was there'd be that rare game that everyone was good and the team healing was insane, and
Yeah,
everyone would get high level with all their heroes because their heroes wouldn't die because everyone would be team healed to holy hell, and you would have maybe a couple of hero deaths that were like you go kill the heroes that have 500 HP because they're just low HP heroes. But those games were awesome when like no one died early and everyone's just duking it out for the entire time.
yeah. I feel like I should probably try to get somebody to be the co-host for the War in the Plaguelands story. I feel now I'm realizing it. I'm like, oh shit. I don't know if I must have. I don't know. Maybe I have told you. Have I told
Hmm.
you about how like the 24 even like came to be, or I feel like I
I
talk
have
about
not
it on
heard that.
stream.
I
Well,
don't.
basically, I got into the game randomly in February of 2018, right a couple months after the 24 players and bots were removed and 24 players was like added. And so Waves took the 12 player and he turned it into 24, and he'd host it all the time and he updated it all the time. And the catch was that one, back then there maybe were still even less players, but everyone was so much more patient. Back then, you joined a lobby, you had no expectations that the game would start for 2 hours. People would join and just be like, yo, just message me. So now that is not the case. Now there is no culture. There's very little culture. Some of those people still hang out. Sapphiros, God bless them. Like, even most of the people who actually stick around in lobbies to wait are the people who were around before. Like, any of the
Hmm.
new people coming in, they don't even know that this is a culture. Like, we used to have
And
lobby simulator culture where we just hang out.
I used to remember that. I used to remember like even on the days when I joined afterwards, like we would be in a lobby and we'd just be chilling, like
Yeah,
talking and we'd either be talking to you on stream or talking in the lobby, and I would be tabbed out doing whatever and just waiting till I heard the ticking that the game was starting, basically.
bro. Back in those days, like pre-refers, whatever, it was so like, because I wasn't the only one hosting too. Like, I wasn't always only hosting this. Other people used to host it, and
Yeah.
everyone just would be like, they join, they'd be like, oh, what's up? You know, they talk about their day. There used to be like, I remember, and there were spoofs too, so you could pretend to be somebody else. And there were definitely a couple really interesting characters that never appeared again, or like there's this one guy named Salami, and he always used to be like, hey man, what's up? Like I don't even know how to, because it's text, so I'm just gonna try to impersonate what I think he sounded like, because he had broken English, and he just always would talk about how he had a whorehouse in Greece, and he was like, I
Mm-hmm.
have the best whores or some shit, like, and I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, who are you? Like, it was so weird, and there's just like many of these people like that are just, and it's like it was one of those things where it's like there's no way to prove that that's true. As far as you can tell, this dude is just role playing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's like running any someone on Moonguard that you play. Wow, like it. Some of the role play is just believable,
Yeah.
and you just have to um basically put up with it. So
But anyway, so the 24, this is the story that I had a fun
yeah,
side story is he stopped editing it and then it died cuz I started being the person to host it before I even streamed. Um just cuz I liked playing it and I used to host it, do work and not expect it to fill for like 4 hours. So a 2-hour lobby was very quick. That was like, oh man, 2 hours. Nice. Like we would wait up to like 6. And we get like 1 or 2 games a day. Like it was a very modest life.
hmm
But then they just stopped filling. Like we just couldn't get more than 14 in the summer because he stopped editing it, and I think that. So I gave up and I went to other things. And then basically what happened was I started streaming, and I didn't even think to do War in the Plaguelands. But at some point, I actually hosted private matches on a server for 4 or 5 months for the 12 player before we even got like a single 24 player game in.
yeah.
And then you fast forward to November, and there are enough people who know that the 12 player is hosted on Saturdays for us to be like, oh, let's play the 24 player. And I was like, then caught on again, and I was like, sick. My stream definitely was the only thing propping it up for a while because people would
I feel like
know whether or not it's hosted because I'm
I,
streaming.
I yeah, yeah, like when I followed you, right? Like you turn on your stream and like people know like, hey, the game's gonna happen pretty quick if he's getting on because that was all you used to play. So at the very least, we had a lobby to sit in. You know?
Yeah, that's that is the worst, quote unquote, whatever. The worst part about Reforged was it did kill this culture of waiting, which just makes everybody so much more impatient and all this stuff. Which is like whatever. I mean, that's just. I mean, it's fine. Like that's what all normal games are like. You don't have to wait to play,
So
but
far, what I've liked the most about Reforge is that I can swap my stupid region over to Europe and all that
and you
easily
could play
enough.
at the same time. Yeah,
Yeah,
I do like that
and
as well.
if I was say sitting in a lobby like on Europe, to waiting on it, and then I can go play on NA for a little bit while I wait on the lobby for the larger map that takes longer to fill
Yeah, for sure.
finally go. Um, I don't know. People waiting is an eternal problem in a lot of games, in my opinion. So.
Definitely.
But that was pretty cool. It's nice to hear that 24 just basically happened because like, hey, we can do this. Let's go do it.
Yeah, it'll come back one day. I think there's it's one of those maps where it can get too toxic too quickly, and I feel like especially since it's died once before, I feel like it just needs time to breathe and for people to forget that the map was even toxic and all this stuff.
I think a lot of what will tie into it coming back will be if people get past the idea of every game needs to be a perfect game.
Yeah,
Because
that too.
I feel like that was a lot of what made it die. Was a lot of people were getting upset that a match only. Oh man, this match only lasted 20 minutes because East blew out everyone or whatever. Like that happens sometimes. Like
It's
that.
good practice too. I mean,
Yeah. Like I mean, I play MOBAs a good amount too,
yeah,
and
you
they
don't always win.
and sometimes you have that game that ends in 15 minutes and whether you're on the winning side or the losing side, that's how the game turned out. It's not always fun, especially if you're losing, but sometimes it's not even fun while you're winning. But sometimes those games happen. Then you have the really like meaty games of 60 minutes, and everyone wants that out of War of the Plaguelands, but they more people need to realize that in order for those to happen, you have to go through those 15, 20-minute games, or the newer people are learning the basics in order to make it to the 60-minute games where they can make it past 40 minutes with a hero alive to actually do something.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, now that I'm pretty much just gonna edit the 12 player now, but it should get pretty close to feel. And yeah, I mean,
I
24 players is kind of a lot of people to manage. It definitely became really. I kind of became the arbitrator and pretty much everything, and it's like, man,
12 is a good number.
yeah,
It's I mean, you
14,
see it with
14, I guess now.
14 because that's what BFME has, what, 12,
10.
10,
BFME's unique.
10. Um, like smaller numbers like is a lot easier to fill up than it is a daunting 24, because part of what I think makes it hard for people to join is you can see how many of the lobbies full in Reforged. So you see that the lobby only has 3 people out of 24, so you don't join because
Right.
it's
I
nowhere.
guess you couldn't see that in the other one. Now that I
In
think
in
about it.
re- in regular Warcraft 3, you just joined the damn lobby, and the only way you knew that it was already full or not was if you were one of those people that had like a bot that told you.
Huh. Yeah. What the fuck, Reforged? That's
So
why nobody fucking joins my lobbies now.
speaking of features that I wish I would have, I don't know how you got that stupid filter for
Oh,
yours,
I have
but
no.
I I don't have that filter yet, so I can't use it.
Man, that makes so much sense. Cause for a while I'd be hosting and it'd be like 124, or like there'd just be these really low numbers, and I'm like, I guess in pre-reforged, a lot of people would join not knowing how close it was to being full, and then they'd just stay. But now it's like, why would you even fucking click a 1 out of 24 lobby?
I mean, why would you even click a 10 out of 24
I
lobby?
mean,
Like
yeah, exactly.
it's
Yeah.
still not even close. Even though by the sheer fact of you joining that 10 makes it 11, like it's part of the issue. So definitely a feature that worked both good and bad, because it's good for the maps that have lower numbers, but for 24 it makes it pretty hard. Now you can do where you close slots and it shows they're full, but then I mean we all
Then you're
know how it feels.
baiting people, and
Everyone knows how it feels to be baited.
yeah, I never did that just because I thought as somebody joining that somebody's less likely to stay around if they thought they got baited. Because anytime anyone baits me with that shit, I always leave immediately. All right, peace. Maybe that's just me though.
Hmm.
But all right, we're do you want to wrap up? Anything else to talk
Sure.
about?
Uh, Nothing off the top of my head. Whatever. It is. I feel like we've been going what, an hour and a half, roughly.
Yeah,
So
it's like an hour and 10 minutes, so it's a good block of time.
should make a good video, I'd hope. But
It's great video with your beautiful Helm of Domination. That is you, right?
yes, totally.
Totally.
Don't watch the cinematic and find out what happens within 5 minutes.
True.
Spoilers.
Spoiler.
Spoilers.
All right, word. Thank y'all for watching. If you're on Twitch, this is gonna go on YouTube. At some point, the wonderful gambler is a pillar of the community. You know, we got to learn a lot about him and how to gamble and his pornography addiction. So yeah, no, let me know in the comments what you think, and make sure to hit that subscribe button. Much love.